Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Postgame Pint. I'm John Bonus of Twins Daily, and I'll be your host. And before I introduce our panelists, a couple of things I want you to look for. The first is that we want you guys to drive the discussion. So I want to call your attention to the chat function. And in particular, if you saw the opening page, I really want to encourage people to use the chat function to propose an obscure word of the show. Both Ted and Nash, who I will introduce shortly, and I are all going to be perusing that while the other one's talking to come up with a couple of, to find out some word that we are going to try and slip in there. And at the end of the day, we're going to try and say which one we did, and you're going to vote on which one did the best job of coming up with the obscure word that we're going to slip into there. I also want to point out that in the chat, you can also put in questions that you have or discussion points that you might have. You can also put that into the Q&A section, and we're absolutely going to be going through those during the show as we talk about the Twins' win over the Royals. They slaughtered them tonight, 4-1 instead of just 4-2, as they've done the last couple of nights. And then with that, let's join in. I'm going to start by introducing Ted Schwerzler, Twins Daily writer. Ted. And then do you have first of all, let's say, do you have a post-game pint that you have brought along or not?
I do not. I have probably some caffeine or Mountain Dew or something at some point here. I have quite a few things on eBay I have to do.
Okay, all right. And also Nash Walker, also Twins Daily. Nash, did you bring a non-alcoholic post-game?
Yeah, I got my lemonade again tonight, John. I got
good for you.
2 for 4 at Hy-Vee. I had to get them for the post-game pints. So.
I've got a black currant tart ale from Finnegan's. It is on sale right now. The growler is just $9. It's a great deal. So I walked over there today and grabbed one for my post-game pint. As usual, we will start out with sort of your Twins take of the game. Ted? What struck you about this game?
I thought it kind of goes into the guy that I'll pick here for my, I guess, what are we calling it, MVP of the game or whatever. But I thought it was a momentum-setting win that they needed to end a series with the Royals. Taking the series, it wasn't a spot that I really wanted them to go into another split. They've played a really strong, schedule out of the gate as far as wins and losses and whatnot. And so kind of asserting themselves against another bad team that they had no business getting swept by. I think that was really the narrative. And, Zach Littell gave up the late home run, but that game really never felt in doubt. And that was a good feeling for 9 innings.
Yeah, I can agree with you on that. After the sweep last weekend versus the same team, it felt like this was a team that was no longer going on a gluten-free diet. They were going for red meat, and they did. They went out and got it, taking 3 of 4 versus the Royals, and getting under their skin a little bit too. I think I don't know exactly what the Royals expected, and it might very well be that some of the theatrics that the Twins performed might be, it could be something that the Royals didn't appreciate, or it could be something that their manager or some team leaders were using to try and motivate them. But there's no question that they were trying to. They were reacting to some of that stuff, and it was nice that the Twins just didn't back down and continued to just. Sort of pummel them, not even really pummel them, just chip away and outplay them and do well defensively, get the key hits that they needed to get, or capitalize on enough opportunities to do it. And got good solid pitching, even with a shortened rotation, again, having to go to the bullpen. Nash, how about you? What was your take of the
what do we think, guys? You think the White Sox are the main rival, we'd say, obviously, in the division. Not even saying rival as far as competitiveness, but, just who we want to beat most, I would say, is probably the White Sox. And then, I think the Royals might be second to, over Cleveland. So that's what I kind of think about when there's –
Really?
stuff. I don't know really who comes second. I know that we all can agree it's the White Sox just because based on like AJ and all that stuff that happened, but I don't know.
Well, I hate the White Sox. Don't get me
so
wrong.
do
Yeah,
I.
I'm big
I almost hate
anti-White
the
Sox guy.
more than I love the Twins.
Yeah, I'm
I
a big
think
anti-White Sox guy, but I got to think the Indians are still sort of the.
I think that fan base though, outside of when they went deep into the postseason, like they almost don't take themselves seriously.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, they're not going to re-sign Lindor. Their lineup is kind of punting behind a good starting rotation. So I guess I get where Nash is coming from. I would say yes, the Indians are for sure the team that the Twins have to beat, but I don't know that they're the fan base or the rivalry is necessarily there.
I also wouldn't forget. Oh, go ahead, Nash.
I was just going to say, I
Good.
don't know if I felt it a ton last summer, the rivalry aspect. I think I did with like Jensen Lewis and shooting out there. I think I felt it, but if that was the White Sox last summer, John, I think we would have been way more fired up. If that was a pennant race with the White Sox like that, going for the division, I think it would have been a lot more fiery on the field.
Sure.
I'm trying to think about the Royals and how they kind of fit in with the rivalry aspect, because that's kind of where you see things happen on the field sometimes.
I can give you one thing, one time where if you were going to point to some history between the Twins and Royals and really some fairly recent history, 2015, the Twins had a chance going into the wild card, into the last weekend of the year to pull off a wild card. They were one game back of, I think, the Angels and I forget who the other team was. With 3 games to play, and they had the Royals coming here at home to play a 3-game series at home, and the Royals swept them. And they not only swept them, they packed the park with Royals fans, and had a little party here while they basically eliminated the Twins from the playoff from the first competitive run the Twins had in 5 years. So I can see where there might be some of that, and I can also see. That is also one of those things where, again, because we get so many Kansas City fans into town when they come to town, especially when they were good in the mid-aughts here or the mid-teens here, it was a little trying.
Yeah, my dad and I go to Compton every summer, and I think it's a little fiery there, I would say. But I think, yeah, when you look at the Royals now, and Ted kind of alluded to it a little bit, we had wins like this. The Twins had wins like this all last summer where they just kind of beat you. And like you said, they didn't pound them down. It wasn't an obliteration, I would say. But they're just a better team, and they want the win more than the Royals do, I think. And, it's obviously more valuable to them, and I think they just take it. And I think they had plenty of those wins last summer. It's kind of refreshing to see that. We're better than you. We're going to beat you tonight. And we're not going to beat you 10-1, but we're going to win. And we're going to, like Ted said, it's not going to feel like it's out of reach. I feel like there were a ton of those games last year, especially among the 14 with Kansas City, where we felt that way.
Yeah, I get that. I guess so is that your take of the game, Nash? Is that there's more of a rivalry with the Royals than we really expected, or did you have something else?
Yeah, I think that happens too, John. Like you said, when a team's worse, I think sometimes how they get themselves fired up is not we're going to go win. It's more of, all right, we're fired up because they were chirping us last night. We're going to get back today and we're going to chirp them and it's going to be fiery. Like sometimes when you're a worse team, you do that. But I think my takeaway from the game is that Nelly is just amazing. I mean, I think this signing last year by the Twins continues to just not like, even if you took, and I've said about Sergio before too, I think Sergio is worth $5 million, just what he gives you as a personality in the bullpen too, of mentoring guys and having that World Series experience. I think some could be said about Nelly in that way. If he wasn't as good of a hitter, I think we'd still say, wow, that was a great signing. Really helped Miguel Sano. He's a leader in the clubhouse. But the fact that he's going out there hitting 2 bombs and he's 40 years old still, I mean, this is just – it's so fun to watch as a fan. Like, it's just unbelievable what this guy's doing on a nightly basis. Sometimes there's just no words for what he's doing. It's really unbelievable. He's like a machine. He just continues to hit bombs. It's nuts.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I mean, unbelievable performance. I took a look at his OPS today after the second home run. 354 average, 1125 OPS, 695 slugging percentage. Like a 500 slugging percentage is really good. absolute top tier, and he's almost at 700 right now. I mean, it's unbelievable. He has truly carried this team. I mean, I was going to say, it's way too early to be talking about MVPs, in the American League. But we're a third of the way through the season. We're over a third of the way through the season. So maybe it's not that early to start talking about MVPs.
Ted, I'll let you go, but I texted a buddy and said, Nelly's unbelievable because he's an Astro and a Rangers fan. So he used to watch Nelly in Texas, and he texted me right back and said AL MVP. So I think people have that at least in their minds a little bit of, last year in 162, maybe a DH is not going to win MVP unless you're Edgar Martinez. But in a 60-game season like this, Nelly could do it. I think he's absolutely top 5, John.
I don't know where I got on the list, and I don't know really whose books they go by, but Sports Betting Dime sends me emails every once in a while, and today they had updates through the first third of the season, and they had Nelson Cruz, I think, at 5th. His odds were long, 32-1 or something like that, but he was 5th. I mean, you still got to go through Mike Trout, and I think there was
maybe Bichette was up there, Ted. Bichette got hurt, but Bo has been off to a really good
start. Yeah. I can't remember who the other ones were, but I mean, he to be in the discussion as a DH is impressive.
Yeah, so he's going to be my player of the game, guys, is Nelson Cruz, and we've been able to say that a whole lot over the last couple of years. It's been just so fun. And Ted, I saw you tweeted, I don't even want to think about free agency for him. I'm not going to think about it because that would be a nightmare if we lost him, even though he is going to be 41. Like I said, to just have him in the clubhouse too, and he's kind of the heart and soul, I think, of the team for sure, and has been now for almost 2 years. Losing him would be a huge blow, but I don't think he's going anywhere. John, what do you think about his free agency?
Oh, I don't know. Give me 40 more games and a playoff series.
Yeah.
Listen, I love the guy, and frankly, if it was today, you've got to bring him back. You got to find some way to bring him back. We should mention it. It's not like he's going to give a hometown discount or something. He's going to be playing for one of his last 2 paychecks. I wouldn't be shocked if he wants a 2-year deal.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what they had mentioned.
Can you actually justify a 2-year deal to a 40-year-old? I think you probably are, but if it's a 2-year. $28 million. If he's asking for $228, now maybe you wait out the market. It's going to be a down season. The question about free agency is, do you want him back? Of course you want him back. The question is, at what point do you have to let him go?
Right.
If there's anything in their pocket, I think it helps that they had some of those conversations groundwork-wise this offseason before there was an announcement that the DH would be universal, likely next year as well. Because I think it was Doogie had mentioned that they kind of already were approaching, hey, you want to come back for maybe 1 more year or whatever, even if that's 2 now.
Yeah, it's a good. It's a really good point, Ted. That with the DH being a full 30 team thing, that he probably. I have trouble imagining anybody giving a 40-year-old guy 2-year deal. I can't.
It's not like a homegrown star getting into his late 20s, and you're like, we can't lose him like Mookie in Boston.
Right.
It's completely different, but it's almost the same feeling of like a Pujols in St. Louis now. Of like Nelly's a twin now. And he's in the heart of the lineup every day, and everyone looks to Nelly. It feels like he has that mantra in the clubhouse from an outside view. So it makes it such a unique situation in both aspects of it, that he is such a big piece on the team.
Well, for my Twins take, I want to talk a little bit about the bullpen, because this was a bullpen game, and it might be hopefully, it's one of the last bullpen games we see from this team. We should be getting Rich Hill back, and supposedly he would be the 5th guy in this rotation again. We've been going to a lot of bullpen games in part because we've been dealing with 3/5 of the starting rotation being injured, and that was before you count Michael Pineda as somebody in the. But the truth is, this team has been good with bullpen games. I really started paying attention to it when they swept Cleveland last year at the end in August with 2 bullpen games in a row, right? A doubleheader basically. But those games where they rely on a bullpen, you can see where it might be frustrating for opposing batters. And you can see, and with 28 guys on the roster, there's not as much downside. to doing the bullpen game. If you've only got 25 guys or 13 pitchers or something, well then, maybe you don't want to be chancing burning them all out. But the fact that they went into a bullpen game after playing a doubleheader on Saturday and then, relying on some of their key arms again on Sunday, and then purposely chose to do a bullpen game on Monday, and the bullpen again shut down the Royals to 1 run in the series is unbelievable to me. Like that is a true dominant performance. If you want to give anybody credit for this 3 out of 4 bounce back against the Royals, I mean the rotation was good, but it wasn't great. Barrios had a bad one, and they didn't even have a rotation in the fourth game. And the hitting, we got 4 runs a couple times. That was good enough. But this series was about the bullpen being absolutely dominant.
Yeah, I will say, I think – sorry, Ted, do you want to go?
No, you go ahead. Nope.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say, I think once Rocco said Whistler was going to start, and then the Royals sent out Perez, Soler, Dozier, McBroom, Franco all in a row, all righties in the middle of the lineup. I think Rocco loved that because he wants Whistler to face righties. And the only lefty who's at the top, and that's Nicky Lopez, and he's not going to beat you. He hit that cheap homer in Kansas City last weekend, I think it was. But he's not going to beat you, the lefty. So you look at that, and you got Witt and Soler and Dozier. You just righty. You want Whistler to go through that once. And that's what happened. And then Smelter took it over in the bottom half of the lineup with Mondesi. And then Merrifield had only seen him. He hadn't seen him yet. This is the first time he was going to see Smelter. Right. So I think it was brilliant that they did that with Whistler because of the best hitters on the Royals are righties. So you want to get them. And with Whistler's slider, I just think that was really savvy.
Well, and I presume they did that in part because they knew Smelter would be coming right after Whistler.
Right.
But then Whistler sits out there for two times through, and then Smelter ends up breezing through the Royals lineup another time, and that's why we get to the player of the game. That's who I'm going to suggest. So, but before we get to the player of the game, let's talk a little bit. Let's launch the poll. So I'm going to tell our attendees I'm about to launch a poll. Let's see what it looks like here. We want you to vote on who had the best Twins take. Nash talking about Cruz and free agency and how unbelievable he has been. Ted Schwerzler talking about reestablishing some dominance over the Royals, or me just talking about how the bullpen ended up doing things. Everybody, we're going to give you guys about 30 seconds to vote as I take a look at some of the other questions that we can kind of talk about. Let's do a quick talk about. Let's see. What does Buxton need to do to move up in the batting order? Let's talk real briefly about that while people are voting on this. I was a little frustrated again to see Mitch Garver batting second. I'm not going to lie. I know we were facing a lefty to start out. I get it. I know we want Mitch Garver to be put in a position where to succeed. I know we probably want to give him as many bats as possible, but I think you've got to go with. I think it's time for Buxton to move out of the basement. I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
Teddy, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Garver hadn't hit second, I don't think, all year. I was looking. He did it, I think, 10 or 8 starts or something like that last year.
But he let off a lot.
Yeah, right, which has been his spot. And that really is, him against righties, the OBP and hitting for average and whatnot. But if you're going to drop him a spot, you might as well drop him down in the order. I would have liked to see Buxton even up that high as well. But yeah, I think you could probably switch Byron into that, fifth through 7th spot instead of batting him 8th, 9th, when you're consistently rolling with a struggling Garver.
Well, looks like we've only got one vote left. I know Joe's trying to figure out how to vote. Other than that, we've got almost all the votes in, and it looks like Nash is going to get the first point here for his Twins day.
Everyone loves Nelly. That's the thing.
Well, yeah. Now we're going to go to the. Ted gets a little bit of love later on. I'm going to end the polling on that, though. Let's switch to the second topic: players of the game. before everybody came on, I heard everybody's player of the game on this. And let's start out. Since Nash has the obvious winner, the 2-home run guy, or the obvious choice, let's let him make a case for Cruz as player of the game here today.
All right, I think Cruz is a player of the game because, again, the offense started sluggish tonight. 3 innings, no runs. I do think it's really important against a team that's worse than you, like the Royals, to establish and get outs more so than it is to get runs early on, in my opinion. Because a team like the Royals can beat you when they get up early and then use their bullpen. Like if they get up 2-3-0 in the first inning and then bullpen you, that's how they can beat you. And they did that in Kansas City. So it was disappointing. The Twins got off to a slow start again with the bats. And Nelly leads off the 4th with a homer. And I think that just kind of spurred things. Then Marwin walks and they kind of busted out that inning. Buxton gets that RBI single. Nelly's he's the instigator for the offense. He gets it going. He ignites the offense, and he's done that so many times. He did it again tonight. Top of the 4th, leadoff homer, and then cements the game. Puts him up 4-1 there with a homer, 4-0 actually at the time before Dozier homered to center. I think Dozier's a phenomenal player, so he'd probably be my 3rd pick for player of the game. But Nelly made it 4-0 with his solo homer, and that kind of just cemented it. Also gave Rocco an opportunity to put in Littell in the 9th instead of maybe going to someone else that's higher leverage that you would waste that arm for later on. Not that Littell's not a good reliever, but he's lower in the pecking order. So I think Nelly started it and ended it tonight. That's why he's my player of the game.
Ted, you and Nash ended up battling a little bit for I think you both liked Nelly, but you both really liked this guy as your number 2 or maybe your number 1 player of the game. Who did you like?
Yeah, a little contrarian. Obviously, it was planned before last night's events, I guess. But I thought it was awesome that Baldelli went to Whistler today. If last night was, a bunch of Royals hitters trying to spit on Romo's slider, both Whistler and Smeltzer and Duffy all came out and just masticated all over the Royals lineup with that slider. And obviously Wes Johnson has been huge on that all year, but Whistler came out and really controlled 2 innings worth of just chewing up Royals hitters. And then, Duffy went back. He had a rougher outing than he has most of the year, but he had a 12-0 K9 after finishing his 9th inning of work this year. So, yeah, I really liked how Matt Whistler set the tone. He could have came out and he was a guy that was DFA'd last year, and there's still some uncertainty is it just the slider that's making things work or what. And, he came out and he kept the Twins in it until the lineup could get going, and I thought that was a great pick-me-up for a bullpen game, a great pick-me-up for a manager that hasn't thrown him as an opener. It's been guys like Clippard or maybe more veteran types that are openers. So, yeah, I really liked Whistler coming out, locking it down right away.
Yeah, I agree, Ted. I think Whistler was able to gerrymander the lineup there a little bit. I think that was key early on.
I'm going to go with I was thinking maybe I would go with Meltzer, but I think I'm going to go with Eddie Rosario. And in part, I like the big play, obviously defensively, and it happened at such a key period. You mentioned, Nash, that it's important to get ahead of the Royals and not to fall behind the Royals, or even to let them into it enough so that they feel like they need to get into their bullpen. They were at 2-0 right then. That was going to put runners on 2nd and 3rd in a big spot. We knew that at the time Clippard was already struggling. Clippard had been struggling against right-handed players. And, that was a rocket that missed going out by about a foot, maybe 6 inches at the top there, right? And it was a line drive shot. Couldn't have gone any faster there. Rosario making that play cleanly, gunning the guy out at second base, getting the 3rd out of that inning versus in what could have been, they were 1 hit away from tying that game up. And now we start to see the best of the Royals, not the worst of the Royals. They're going to the best guys in their bullpen and not necessarily relying on more of the soft middle. So I will go with Rosario as mine, and I'm going to just launch that poll as well. Let's see what what everybody thinks about who made the best case for their player of the game. And there I am launching it.
I think there's a lot. There's a lot to be said too, just from a baseball IQ standpoint about, and now I'm helping you out here, but with Rosario's play there in left, because there was nothing he was going. You're not going to catch that ball on the fly whether you rob it or not. It was just going way too hard. So him realizing that your only play is to play that off the wall and putting himself in a spot where he can turn and just throw a dart to second. That's a that's a play that he probably wasn't making as routinely last year because whether it's injury or he wasn't locked in or whatever the case, that was just incredibly smart positioning.
And it looks like most of the votes are in here. I'm going to give just another minute, but I think it's going to be a runaway for Nash. Nash took the low-hanging fruit, and I think he's going to end up with.
I did. I'll admit it. I did.
I don't blame him.
But John has a good question for us pertaining to Nelson Cruz. He said, what in the world would we do without Nelson Cruz, and what is the plan when he inevitably slows down? I don't think he's ever going to slow down. But what would we do without him? I don't know. Right now, not a lot. But I think your hope is that the lineup would come back around. But from like a leaving the Twins / retiring standpoint, you'd also hope that Kirilloff and Rooker and Larnach and those guys could fill in the DH role soon enough. I mean, I think we all believe in those bats. They're not going to be Nelson Cruz, so hopefully we never compare them to Nelly. But we've got
a 13-year-old dog. It's my wife's first dog ever. She's convinced that dog is going to live forever. And I just agree with her when she's going to say that. So, and similar, Nelson Cruz will always be young, and he will always be a twin, and that's the way it's going to be. So, all right. I just displayed the results for the poll. So let's talk. Nash, you've won 2 out of the 3 contests. That means it's over. You've already won. But I think we've got to go through the last competition here, because I appreciated the effort that you guys did using the obscure word in the poll today.
That was outstanding. I didn't hear Ted's until I looked back. Ted, that was unbelievable. I'm proud of that.
Why don't you share? Everybody share their obscure word and when they used it for those people who missed it. Ted, we will start with you. Your outstanding one.
Mine was masticate.
Yes, masticate. And I like that you went back to it and then talked about chewing them up and spitting them out as well. I appreciated that you worked that into the whole thing. Nash?
Yeah, and Ted's was so good that I didn't realize I forgot that we were doing it almost. I saw the Ted's word and remembered that he said it, and so I threw in gerrymander. I think Seth picked up on it, but I don't know if anyone else did.
Well, it's just part of my normal lexicon.
Okay. We've got a 1 and a 4-year-old. That's why. Yeah. You got yours in just under the wire there, Nash. I was about ready to call you out on it.
Right
whether or not you did it. You were going to be a lost point. Mine I used in the first segment to try and get over with because I got work to do here. So I went with gluten-free. So when I mentioned the Twins went from a gluten-free diet to eating red meat versus the Royals, that was why you find it back in the first segment. So mine was apparently so seamless that neither of you guys even caught it. Let's roll that poll then too. See which one the people liked the most as we finish up with one more question.
Yeah, did you see Brent's question here about Smalley's enthusiasm on Sano taking that pitch the other way hard off the wall? I think that's an interesting question because I don't know if you guys remember that at bat, but obviously that was his double off of the wall. I think it was either the pitch before the double or there was one in between, but he got a ball on the first pitch, and the second pitch was a 93-mile-an-hour fastball, about center cut down in the zone. And I just thought to myself, I mean, if he's not timing pitches and sitting through at-bats kind of like he is right now, that ball is on the moon. And right now he is, and I wrote about this I think last week or so, but he's frustrating right now because he's missing so much, but it's clear that the timing just is not there. And I mean, and part of that is him sitting through at bats, trying to get that timing down. But yeah, he's taking a lot of pitches that I think he would normally do significant damage on.
I often am really encouraged when I see a baseball player go hard the other way on that, in part because it feels to me like they're showing a little bit more patience and a little more confidence in their swing. You know, a lot of times to do that, you got to let the ball get in on you a little further. You don't jump on it as fast. And so I'm almost always encouraged by, you know, a line drive to the opposite field, especially into the gap, especially one that goes off the wall, basically. I would not have anticipated that from Sano. Like, it seems so out of sorts for what we have seen from him, where he does seem to be jumping in on stuff and be a little out of sorts. It seemed like an outlier.
Where was that pitch? Because I missed that pitch. I saw him line it, but I didn't see where that pitch was. Was it outside?
Ted, did you notice? I thought it was on the outer half of the plate.
Yeah, I thought he went with it. Yep. And I think, again, going back to, I think it was his first at bat, the Bubic pitched him. I mean, he got, I can't remember if they were all fastballs, but a lot of pitches right in the heart of the zone. And I think he struck out in that at bat, but it was pretty clear he was not necessarily timing, but he was looking at pitches. And I mean, I kind of think that's the game he's playing right now, whether it's on a game scenario or on a weekly scenario, is that I'm going to, you know, set myself up for September and October if that means right now I'm going to go through it, because I don't think he can't. He missed time in summer camp. He's not trying to go through it at the end of September to try and, you know, figure it out then.
Yeah, there was a pitch like 93 down and in, and it might have been from Bubic or someone, but he just swung right through it. And like you said, that would have been on the moon, 100%.
Ted wins our obscure word contest today with masticated.
Rightly
well done,
so.
Ted.
Yeah, you were good too. I should have been in third.
No, I think you get it. Bonus takes the O for tonight. Nash, you're going to be our post-game pint Pooh-bah up until the point that we have a next post-game pint, which will be tomorrow night, when the contestants will be myself, Matt Trueblood, and I think Matthew Taylor. I'm having trouble remembering exactly who signed up for that one. So thank you all for joining us. I want to thank, again, our panelists, Ted and Nash, for joining us today. Don't forget, you can find this and share it. It'll be on our YouTube channel by the morning. It'll also be on our Facebook page by the morning, and it'll also be in the game recap. And you can always find the latest one over at postgamepint.com. You can also download the audio-only version of it from the Twins Daily podcast version, Twins Daily podcast, which you can find on iTunes or wherever you go and get your podcast. Like I said, our next post-game pint will be after tomorrow night's game versus the Brewers. It'll probably start about 10 o'clock, but we just start it whenever the last out begins. So we will see you tomorrow night, and win Twins.
John, Teddy, thanks. Good job, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.